You know exactly who we're talking about, right? That one person in the room who's always watching, always listening, but rarely speaking. It's something we see all the time, but we so often get it wrong. So today, let's dive into the fascinating psychology behind the quiet observer.
Think about it. Who just popped into your head? The coworker in a meeting, maybe a friend at a party, or even someone in your own family. And what's your gut reaction? That they're shy, bored, maybe even a little standoffish? Well, what if I told you there's a much deeper, way more interesting story happening right under the surface?
All right, so let's start with how we usually see these folks. We have a tendency to put them in a box just because they're quiet, but that box is usually built on a foundation of, well, total misconceptions. Yeah, these are the go-to labels, aren't they? We see quiet, and our brains just immediately jump to conclusions like social anxiety, a lack of interest, or that they think they're better than everyone else. It's a really easy assumption to make because it's kind of what we've all been taught to think. But here's where it gets really interesting. Psychology suggests that these snap judgments don't just miss the point, a lot of the time they get it completely backward. What we see as being passive is actually an incredibly active, deliberate way of engaging with the world. So let's pull back that curtain and really look at what's going on behind that quiet exterior. This is where we shift from our assumptions to the actual reality. Okay, this slide right here, this is a total game changer. What we mistake for shyness is actually intense internal processing. What looks like they're not interested is actually a state of heightened awareness. And what we label as aloof, that can be a very strategic approach to interacting with people. And this is exactly why we've got to stop thinking of observing as a lack of something. It's not a lack of words. It's not a lack of confidence. It's a skill, a deliberate choice to soak up information, to really understand the dynamics at play, and to interact with the world in a more thoughtful, intentional way. So why do some people develop this skill so strongly? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the core psychological reasons behind this observer's mindset. It's almost never just one thing, but usually a mix of some really powerful internal drives. And this breaks it down perfectly into 4 key pillars. First, it starts with a genuine need to process information fully. Then, it's driven by a desire for really deep social awareness. It's put into action through strategic choices about when and how to jump in. And it's all held together by some pretty strong emotional control. Let's just take that first point on processing for a second. For an observer, just blurting out a half-baked thought feels, well, useless. Their silence, that's the sound of them connecting the dots, analyzing all the little details, and crafting a response that's actually going to add real value to the discussion. You know, it's also really important to remember this isn't always something you're born with. For a lot of people, it's a learned behavior. I mean, if you spent your life being talked over, ignored, or dismissed, you learn pretty quick that watching first is a much more effective and, frankly, sometimes safer way to make sure your voice is heard when it truly matters. It's not avoidance, it's smart adaptation. Okay, so now that we get the why behind it, let's talk about the payoff, because this way of interacting with the world builds some incredibly powerful and really valuable strengths. I absolutely love thinking of these as superpowers, because that's really what they are. While everyone else is busy talking, the observer is the one seeing the subtle shift in body language, hearing the unspoken worry in someone's voice, and remembering that one tiny detail everyone else forgot. And that leads to way better decisions and, when they do speak, communication that is crystal clear and hits the mark. And this right here just completely shatters that myth that being quiet means you're insecure. An observer can be incredibly confident, they can be deeply knowledgeable, and they can be amazingly socially skilled. Their silence isn't a wall that blocks interaction, it's a fundamental tool for how they interact. It's how they understand and connect. So all of this brings us to one last, really crucial takeaway. It's time we completely change how we think about what silence means when we're around other people. Man, that really just says it all, doesn't it? The quiet isn't a void. It's full. It's buzzing with perception, it's packed with analysis, and it's loaded with potential. It's a space where real understanding is built and where strength is gathered long before it's ever spoken out loud. So I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time you're in a room and you spot that quiet observer, what are you going to see? Will you just see shyness? Or will you see someone who is processing, strategizing, and getting ready to contribute something truly valuable? Instead of seeing emptiness, will you see strength?